Something huge just exploded, and it's coming straight from 50 Cent. The same man who's been warning the world about Diddy for years has finally gone full savage, dropping names, showing receipts, and exposing a list that could wreck the music industry beyond repair. This isn't gossip. This isn't fan theory. This is real serious stuff. And it's unfolding right now with names like Justin Bieber, Ja Rule, Kevin Hart, and more being pulled into the storm. These aren't the people you'd expect to be involved in something this dark, but 50 says they were all way too close to Diddy and not in any innocent way. And now, with Diddy standing trial for federal sex trafficking and racketeering, everything that once sounded like hate is now starting to look like truth. What's even crazier is that 50 Cent has apparently been collecting dirt on Diddy for years, planning and waiting because he always knew this day would come. And now that it's here, the whole industry might burn. 50 didn't just drop a few shady hints, he went full snitch mode, listing names that will make your jaw hit the floor with every new post. He's pulling the curtain back on the hidden side of fame. And trust me, you're not ready for what's behind it. Take Justin Bieber, for instance. The pop idol we watched grow up, the golden boy of teen music, according to 50. There was nothing golden about his early interactions with Diddy, who once openly bragged about spending 48 hours with a very young Bieber. Now, back then, fans brushed it off as mentorship, maybe just studio time, maybe career advice, but those who really knew the business said otherwise. And when you notice how Bieber has completely distanced himself from Diddy over the years, avoiding collaborations, keeping quiet in interviews, never publicly acknowledging that mentorship, you begin to wonder what really happened during those 48 hours, because if the allegations hold any truth, then that moment in Bieber's life wasn't just awkward. It might have been terrifying. Next on the list is Ja Rule. And this one is not just messy, it's horrifying because Diddy's former bodyguard, Gene Deal, has gone on record saying he personally witnessed unsettling behavior involving Diddy and Ja Rule during a trip to an adult bookstore. Gene even claims he saw what he called freaky activity in a private suite between the two, something so strange and so disturbing that Ja Rule himself started warning others about being alone with Diddy. Let that sink in. Imagine working with someone so closely that you have to warn other people not to be alone with them. That's not rivalry, that's fear, that's someone trying to keep others safe from something they can't even talk about directly. Then there's Fabulous, and this one hits hard because we've actually seen the discomfort on camera during a Drink Champs interview. Fabulous looked like he wanted to be anywhere else, but there, especially when Diddy started making certain comments, 50 claims he saw Diddy try to pressure Fabulous to go upstairs during a private event, and that story lines up perfectly with Fab's own account of sneaking out of Diddy's party. Now ask yourself, why would someone sneak out of a party unless they were scared? Unless they felt like something was really wrong, like danger was close by now. Picture Bow Wow, another young star who rose during Diddy's prime. Bow Wow was around during the era when Bad Boy Records ruled the industry and when Diddy had easy access to up-and-coming talent. 50 claims Bow Wow also had questionable interactions with Diddy, ones that went beyond standard industry mentorship. Next comes Trey Songz, who isn't usually tied to controversy at this level, but 50 placed him on the list too, suggesting he was among those who got too close to Diddy. And based on what we've learned about the so-called freak-off parties, it makes you wonder what exactly Trey might have seen or experienced. But maybe the most surprising name yet is Kevin Hart. The funny man, the Hollywood darling. Kevin is not a rapper, he's a comedian, and yet 50's list includes him as well. There are several moments from live streams and interviews that suddenly feel very off when viewed through the lens of these allegations. Awkward interactions, uncomfortable silences, behaviors that just don't sit right anymore. And it only gets darker from here because Diddy isn't accused of acting alone. This wasn't some secret habit hidden behind velvet curtains. This was an entire system, a structure built to protect, enable, and silence everything and everyone involved in these allegations. Just days ago, Cassie Ventura, Diddy's former girlfriend, took the stand in a Manhattan courtroom, and what she revealed has left everyone stunned. Cassie testified about being forced into elaborate sexual performances called freakoffs, which Diddy allegedly orchestrated. But the detail that hit the hardest was her being made to get into a baby oil-filled inflatable pool in a hotel room. And yes, you heard that right. A pool filled with baby oil. 50 Cent didn't waste time reacting, he posted. AI images mocking the scene and captioned it with disbelief, calling the behavior beyond crazy. And when federal agents raided Diddy's properties, they discovered over 1,000 bottles of baby oil, And suddenly the pool story doesn't sound so exaggerated anymore. But this wasn't just about disturbing sexual rituals. There was a machine in place designed to keep it all buried. NDAs were the norm. Threats were expected, and if silence couldn't be bought, it was forced. The most chilling example involves Kid Cudi. Cassie testified that after she began dating him, Diddy exploded. Kid Cudi's car, not vandalized, not trashed, exploded before that. Diddy allegedly broke into his house and locked his dog in the bathroom. And if true, that's not celebrity drama, that's mob-style intimidation and retaliation. But it wasn't just the big names who saw things. Bodyguards, assistants, makeup artists, and industry insiders are finally speaking up, and their stories paint a picture of something far worse than anyone imagined. Usher said he was sent to stay with Diddy when he was just 13 years old, something called Puffy Flavor Camp, where he was exposed to parties, women, and behavior he didn't fully understand at that age. Even then, Usher admitted he saw things he couldn't to process at the time, and never quite recovered from those early days in the industry. And when you realize how young he was, the full horror of what he's saying starts to hit home. This wasn't a TA mentorship. This was something else entirely. Something dangerous. That story alone should have set off alarm bells years ago, but it was ignored, and now everything is coming to light in the worst way possible. 50 Cent exposes the rappers, Diddy silenced, names finally revealed. Reggie Wright Jr. has been another voice adding fuel to the fire, confirming details from multiple sources and backing up stories about what young artists allegedly experienced behind closed doors. And then there's George Kaplan, Diddy's former assistant and a man who had first-hand access to the darkest corners of this world. Kaplan testified under immunity, which means he had legal protection as long as he told the full truth. And what he revealed was nothing short of horrifying. Kaplan said one of his main duties was to prepare Diddy's hotel rooms, and what he found inside was chilling. He described opening Diddy's luggage and finding baby oil, Astroglide liquor, and candles, and it didn't stop there. Sometimes he had to purchase these items himself, using Diddy's corporate cards. Other times he had to clean up after the parties, throw out used baby oil bottles, and in one disturbing case dispose of a powdery crystal substance. He was even given specific numbers to call to arrange pickups and deliveries of drugs and cash. But the detail that broke him was Cassie's plea for help. Kaplan admitted he resigned because he couldn't live with himself knowing what he saw and what he was helping cover up. Imagine being that close to the epicenter of abuse. And finally walking away, not for money, not for revenge, but because your conscience couldn't take it anymore. Mila Morales, a professional makeup artist, also came forward after staying silent for over a decade. She shared how during a Grammy weekend in 2010, she was doing Cassie's makeup when Diddy suddenly burst into the hotel room. Cassie tried to leave but was stopped, and what followed was so violent, Mila said she packed up Cassie's things and helped her escape to her own home. Once Cassie came out of the room, she was bruised and broken. Mila didn't just hear something. She witnessed the aftermath of abuse and did the only thing she could. She helped someone get to safety. Her testimony matched exactly with what Cassie described, and it confirmed that the physical violence was real. Not exaggerated, not a rumor, but something professionals in Diddy's circle had seen and tried to hide. Then there's Jaguar Wright, who has been calling out Diddy for years long before these allegations became headline news. She accused him of connections to sex trafficking to young girls, to disturbing rituals happening behind closed doors. People dismissed her, called her bitter or jealous, or said she just wanted fame. But everything she's been saying is now being echoed in sworn testimonies and federal court filings. She even hinted that Diddy knew more about Biggie's death than he let on. And while that may sound far-fetched, it makes you wonder how many of the hip-hop world's unsolved mysteries are connected to the same dark network. And then Mase came forward, another artist who once trusted Diddy with his career, but now speaks with deep resentment and pain. Mase said he never got paid what he was worth, never got the respect he earned, and most of all, he felt Diddy kept him small, while everyone else grew. Mase felt used, controlled, and emotionally manipulated, and what started as a contract dispute now feels like another example of how Diddy allegedly exploited young artists who didn't know how to fight back. But none of this prepared anyone for the final name on 50 Cent's list, T.D. Jakes, the megachurch pastor, the spiritual leader with millions of followers. His inclusion shocked everyone because this was not someone from the music scene, not someone you'd expect to see at wild parties. But according to allegations, T.D. Jakes wasn't there as a victim but as a participant, someone allegedly seen at these so-called freaky gatherings, someone who, according to rumors, helped enable the same behaviors that others were testifying against. And if that's true, it means this isn't just a celebrity scandal, it's a spiritual betrayal. It's a sign that this alleged ring of silence and power reached far beyond music and touched places people thought were sacred and untouchable. The idea that religious leaders, entertainers, comedians, and artists might all be connected in a web of silence, complicity, and coercion is terrifying because it shows that power protects itself across every industry, and that anyone speaking up was up against not just a man, but a machine. But something has changed. Victims are now testifying, insiders are speaking, the press is finally listening, and even the internet is catching up to the warnings that were ignored for years. Because for every name exposed, there's another waiting in the shadows. For every story told, there is another that still locked away in NDAs or hidden by fear. This isn't the end. This is the beginning of a reckoning, where fame can no longer shield abuse, where money can no longer silence truth, and where powerful people who thought they were untouchable are finally seeing their world unravel. If the names on 50 Cent's list are true, then the industry is about to change forever, because now fans know, journalists know, and most importantly, the victims know that they're not alone anymore. And now we have to ask ourselves, how many other stories have we ignored because they sounded too wild, too unbelievable? How many red flags did we laugh off as drama or gossip because they came from people we didn't want to believe? And how many more names are going to drop before this story reaches its darkest depths? The truth is, no one knows how deep this goes. But one thing is certain: this moment, this trial, this unraveling is just the beginning. And no matter how powerful the names involved may be, they can no longer hide behind silence. Because the world is finally listening, and the survivors are finally being heard. And if you're wondering what happens next, the answer is simple: more names, more testimonies, and more truth. Because the people who were told to stay quiet are now the loudest voices in the room. And when all of this is over, the music industry, the entertainment world, and even the spiritual leaders among us will never be seen the same way again.